I've got two issues that I have just been struggling with trying to figure out. And the first one is, should I be buying gold and silver right now as a hedge against inflation? Because I'm just not trusting the government. I'm not trusting the government, the Federal Reserve, the banks, or the dollar. Okay. My second issue, drawers from a shop cabinet here. Yeah, that's been an issue for me. Well, the other day I found a penny. A nice shiny 2017, a fairly recent penny. And then I suddenly realized I don't have two issues. I've got one issue because they're the same issue. For the drawers for the shop cabinet here, we got to go back to the spring of 2020. Yeah, y'all remember that one, don't you? Okay, I was at work, got the news, we're shutting down for however long, indefinitely, who knows. All right, my first thought was the same first thought everybody else had. Hey, I can work on a home project. So I went to get some lumber for this cabinet and the drawers. Okay, there wasn't a lot to choose from there because everybody else had the same idea, and they were running low on lumber and it was expensive. So I got what I could. And thankfully, I had some on hand already. So the cabinet itself turned out really good. But for the drawers, the only option I had was some really cheap plywood that they had, and that was it. All right, so I got it, and I commenced making the drawers from the cabinet. And then on a Friday afternoon, I'm thinking I got 3 weeks left to do this. Friday afternoon, I got a phone call from work. Hey, you got to be back at work Monday. So then I'm rushing. I'm kicking it in high gear. I went from, hey, I got 3 weeks to, oh no, I got 3 days. So I made every mistake that we make when we get in a hurry on a project. Okay, well, ever since then, I have not been happy with the drawers in this cabinet, not at all. And I've been trying to figure out how could I salvage them, what could I do. I mean, I did have some work in them, and they were drawers, and this is just for a shop, but this has remained unfinished since then, just because I've been trying to decide what to do, because I wasn't happy with them. Oh, and side note, procrastination doesn't come from putting off doing stuff. It comes from putting off deciding what to do. All right, but anyway, the other day I realized that my drawers, there was nothing to salvage here. It's poor materials and poor workmanship. You put those two together and there's no coming back from that on any project. All right, so I just went ahead and started demoing my drawers. We're starting from scratch. Good materials, I'd have had something to salvage then. I'd had something to work with. I didn't have that. I had poor materials. Okay, now for the penny. This penny is nice and bright and shiny, and it's only 2.5% copper. The rest is zinc. That's it. All right, poor materials. And I go back before 1982, and pennies were 95% copper and 5% zinc. And as a result, a penny made before 1982, just the copper content in it alone is worth about 2.5 cents. All right, so just the materials made out of is worth more than our pennies themselves. All right, that should tell us something about what our money's doing. Take this a step further. This is a quarter, 1920, about. The date wore off the bottom of it, but I found this quarter metal detecting a long time ago, and I was amazed at how shiny it was to have been in the ground for however long it'd been there, and it looked like the day had been dropped. Well, that's because of all the silver in it, good materials. And this particular quarter right now, just because of the silver content, it's worth $4.25. Yeah, that's back when our money had silver in it, and our pennies had copper in them, and our dollars were based on gold. We don't have any of that now. Poor materials. And as far as gold and silver, I do have my concerns there. I've got several. And the first one being, if I converted a lot of my cash to gold and silver, which I do not see gold and silver as a good investment. Okay, I'm just looking at it as a way to preserve wealth. Okay, if I convert a lot of my cash to that, in the future, should I need necessities like food and electricity, if we fall on hard times, I'm going to have to convert some gold and silver back to cash. Who am I going to sell it to? Especially during hard times when everybody's trying to sell what little bit they got. All right, and we're talking deflationary issues then, but okay, who's going to buy it and what are they going to give me for it? And then there's potential confiscation from the government. It wouldn't be the first time. The U.S. government confiscated gold in 1934, I believe it was, during the Depression. And it's pretty crooked what they did. The dollar was tied to gold then. Okay, so I think it was, you got $20 for an ounce of gold. I believe that was the exchange rate. You could turn your dollars in for gold. Okay, well, they confiscated everybody's gold, and you had to turn it in or face so much time in prison. A week after they got everybody's gold, they raised the price of gold. It went from $20 an ounce to, I think, $35 an ounce. All right, so that's what our government's capable of. Nice potential issue. Okay, then there's the taxes I'd have to pay. Okay, if you buy gold and silver over a certain quantity, you've got to report it to the IRS right now so that they know what you've got. Okay, and if it should protect you against inflation. Okay, so our money becomes worth less because of inflation. The price of that gold and silver goes up. When you convert it back to cash, you got to pay taxes on the difference. Yeah. And here's the kicker with that one. The worse the job they do managing the dollar, the more they inflate it, the more in taxes you're going to have to pay on it when you convert it back to cash. They're getting rewarded for doing such a poor job. And if they wasn't doing such a poor job, I wouldn't be thinking about this now. But I mean, with the country, well, however many trillion, 31, 32 trillion dollars in debt. And I know there's been a lot of talk lately about the dollar losing its status as the world's reserve currency. Okay, and that could happen, but I don't see that happening, or at least I'm not worried about that. And I just say that because who else is going to replace it? China? I mean, the Chinese don't even trust the Chinese Communist Party. The rest of the world sure ain't. Russia? Brazil? Their president did time in prison. All right, so the countries in the BRICS organization, whatever that is, they don't trust each other. And nobody else trusts them. I don't know about whoever's over India now. I don't know that much about India, but the rest of them, South Africa. Okay, so I'm not worried about the dollar losing its status as the world's reserve currency, which would be really bad for us Americans if it did, because that's about all we export anymore is dollars. All right. So, yeah, not worried about that. But I am worried about the government trying to pay off our national debt through inflation. I just can't see a way around that one. I mean, I think the dollar is going to strengthen in the short term. Federal Reserve right now, they're pulling dollars out of the system, and that's fewer dollars. Okay, that's deflationary. You see the price of gold going up. At some point, they're going to stop. Right now, the government can barely pay the interest on the national debt. Okay, so at some point, I look for the Federal Reserve to start handing money out again. Quantitative easing, they can call it whatever they want, but just because they hand it to the rich people in the banks, it's still inflationary. Look at the price of houses now. Okay, so I look for that to come back, and when it does, all right, that's when the value of the dollar is going to really go down. Okay, so yeah, I'm trying to figure this out, but just based on what I said about the materials alone, I'm thinking gold and silver's, that's a good place for me to have some money now. At least then I got something to work with. Now I know for some of you that might have been just about the stupidest thing you ever heard. Yeah, I'm going to let what I figured out about my drawers for my shop cabinet help me make personal financial decisions regarding gold and precious metals and the U.S. dollar. Okay, I understand why you might think that, but this isn't about that. It isn't about the wood. It isn't about the money. This is about the values. Okay, Shaker furniture. I know a lot of you have heard of Shaker furniture before, but for those of you that haven't, it's a particular type of furniture, antique furniture, that's very collectible, worth a lot of money. Okay, it was made by religious fundamentalists, the Shakers, in the last quarter of the 1800s, and it's easily recognizable. All right, it's not ornamental at all. They didn't believe in being ornamental. There was no Gucci involved in that. Okay, they believed in using good quality materials. All right, so most of it's made out of oak and cherry and things like that. Real solid hardwoods. The drawer pulls, they're made out of wood. They viewed brass as being flashy. Okay, so they viewed honesty, took that seriously, and humility. Okay, and they did not believe in veneers at all. They viewed veneers as being dishonest, which they are. Okay, and then how many of us today have bought a nice piece of furniture thinking, look at this nice solid wood, whatever, we get a scratch on it or it gets wet, and all of a sudden we realize that's a veneer on there, and it's just a little thin strip of quality wood covering junk wood underneath it. Okay, so it is dishonest. That's all this is. The plating on this, the copper plating on this penny here, it's a veneer. It's dishonest. Why did they go through the trouble of even plating this? So we would think it was copper. Okay, so yeah, I can't trust this. It says in God we trust, but how many people making this or determining the value of this trust in God? I know I do. And I also know God made gold and silver. I can trust gold and silver. It's real. It's quality materials. Now, I can't say if it's going to go up or down in value compared to the dollar or high. Any of that's going to play out. But I can trust that it's real. And it's honest. Okay, that was enough talking for me. I got to get back to work now. I got some drawers to build. But that was just such a relief for me to have two issues that have been bothering me for a while now, just trying to figure out what to do, and all of a sudden to figure out they're essentially the same issue and come up with the answer for both of them. I just wanted to share that. God bless and have a great day.